In the winter of 1858, in a small town at the foot of the French Pyrenees, 3 girls went out to gather firewood. Among them was Bernadette Soubirous, 14 years old, poor and sickly, the daughter of a miller who had lost everything. She could barely read, spoke only her local dialect, Occitan, and was known for nothing except her honesty and frail health. That morning, as the others crossed the stream, Bernadette stopped to remove her shoes. She heard a sudden gust of wind, yet no branches moved. She looked up at the dark cave in the cliffs called Massabielle, and what she saw would change the town of Lourdes forever. In the hollow of the rock stood a woman dressed in white, with a blue sash around her waist and a rosary hanging from her arm. Bernadette fell to her knees and began to pray. The lady moved her fingers along the beads but said nothing. When the prayer ended, the vision was gone. Bernadette told her sister, "I saw something white, aquero," which in her dialogue means that one, but I don't know what it was. What unfolded over the next few weeks would echo far beyond Lourdes, reaching into the very heart of Catholic belief and stirring a mystery centuries in the making. Days later, she felt drawn back to the grotto. This time, she brought a small bottle of holy water, afraid the vision might be a trick. When the lady appeared, Bernadette sprinkled the water toward her, and the lady only smiled. On the 3rd visit, the lady finally spoke. "Would you do me a favor of coming here for 15 days?
Returning here for 15 days?
I don't promise to make you happy in this world, but in the
I
next."
cannot promise that you'll be happy in this life, but you will be in the next.
Bernadette agreed. For the next 2 weeks, she returned to the grotto every morning, and crowds began to gather. The lady urged her to pray, to do penance for sinners, and one day pointed to a spot on the ground, telling her to drink and wash there, though nothing was visible. Bernadette knelt and dug with her hands. Some people mocked, others prayed as muddy water slowly began to seep out. Within hours, it became a clear, flowing stream, a spring that still runs today. Then came a new message from the lady. "Go tell the priest to build a chapel here and to come in procession." Bernadette ran to the parish rectory to deliver the message. The priest, Father Dominique Peramal, listened carefully. He was not convinced. "If this lady wants a chapel," he said, "tell her to give me her name." "Who is she?" Bernadette returned to the grotto and asked softly, "Would you be so kind as to tell me your name?" The lady smiled. Bernadette asked again and again, always the same gentle silence. 15 days passed, then 16, and still the lady's name remained a mystery. Until finally, on March 25th, 1858, the feast of the Annunciation, Bernadette came once more to the grotto. This meeting would prove to be the most consequential, leaving everyone in complete disbelief. A lot of hard work goes into making these videos. I produce them, write them, and edit them myself. If you want this channel to continue, all I ask is if you're enjoying this video, hit the like button. It costs you nothing, and the more you share these videos, the more people will learn about saints and miracles. Make sure you subscribe so you won't miss an episode. I want this channel to grow so I can spread the word about these incredible stories with more people. Thanks for your support. Dawn light fell over the valley. Bernadette knelt on the cold ground. The lady appeared, brighter than before. Bernadette asked once more, "Would you tell me your name?" The lady folded her hands, looked toward heaven and spoke, not in French or Latin, but in Bernadette's own rustic dialect of the Pyrenees. "Que soy era Immaculate Conception." I am the Immaculate Conception. Bernadette repeated the strange words again and again so she wouldn't forget them.
Conception. The Immaculate Conception. Immaculate Conception.
She ran through the streets breathless, bursting into the rectory. "Father Peramal!" She said her name. He looked up from his desk. "Well, child, what name?"
What are you saying?
I asked the lady who she was, and she said, "I'm the Immaculate Conception."
Que soy era Immaculate Conception. For a moment, there was silence. Then the color drained from his face. He gripped the edge of his desk, knees trembling. The name she spoke was something no peasant child could possibly have known. Father Peramal had demanded proof, a name that would expose the truth or prove a miracle. What Bernadette brought him was a phrase that, at that time, would have only been known to theologians: the Immaculate Conception, a doctrine declared by the Pope only 4 years earlier in Rome. In 1854, Pope Pius IX had solemnly proclaimed that from the very first moment of her existence, Mary, the mother of Jesus, was preserved from original sin. Not because she did not need redemption, but because she received it in advance. By a special grace, the saving power of Christ reached backward in time and protected her soul before sin could touch it. The Pope had defined the teaching in the grand halls of St. Peter's Basilica, surrounded by bishops and theologians. But now the same title had been spoken in a remote mountain dialect by a barefoot girl who could barely write her own name. For the priest, it was unmistakable. If she had invented this, it would have been the most brilliant invention in church history. But she hadn't. She didn't even understand what the words meant. And the title she unknowingly spoke referenced a doctrine that was centuries in the making. The phrase was new, but the belief behind it was ancient. As far back as the 4th century, Christian thinkers like St. Ambrose and St. Augustine said that Mary was unlike any other human being. They believed she had been kept pure because she was chosen to carry the Son of God. Augustine wrote, "When we speak of sin, we make no exception, except the Holy Virgin Mary." Over the centuries, believers began to see Mary as the new Eve, the woman whose obedience would undo the disobedience of the first. While Eve's yes brought death, Mary's yes would bring life. Artists painted her clothed in light, standing on the moon, crowned with 12 stars. The question remained, how could she be sinless if all are born with original sin? For many, it seemed an impossible paradox. Then, in the 13th century, a Franciscan scholar named John Duns Scotus offered an answer. He said God could save Mary in the most perfect way, not by cleansing her after sin, but by preventing it altogether. God could do it, he said. It was fitting that he should, therefore he did. That simple reasoning eventually became the foundation of the doctrine itself. Through the following centuries, devotions to Mary spread everywhere, in prayers, in art, in feast days, until finally, in 1854, the Church gave that belief a name: the Immaculate Conception. Still, not everyone accepted it. Even within the Church, some feared it went too far. They asked, why define something the faithful already believe? Why risk dividing the Church over one woman's conception? For centuries, theologians had argued both sides. Some said the idea lacked scriptural proof. Others warned that claiming one human being had been spared from sin made her seem almost divine. When Pius IX declared the dogma, it was a bold act of faith and of defiance. Europe was changing fast. Revolutions had shaken the continent, and religion was under attack from modern skepticism. For the Pope, defining the Immaculate Conception was a way to remind the world that grace, not science or reason, had the final word. But to many, the decree sounded like superstition, a claim too daring to believe. 4 years later, a message came from a place no one expected, from a valley where few could read the newspaper of Rome, where an uneducated girl speaking a dying dialect claimed that a lady from heaven had called herself the Immaculate Conception. For believers, that was no coincidence. It felt like confirmation. The echo of the Pope's words from 4 years before, now spoken by the Virgin herself. A doctrine declared in Latin under the dome of St. Peter's had reappeared in the mouth of a child in the Pyrenees. The timing was perfect. The language, impossible to fake. It was as if heaven had answered the Church in its own voice. So what does it really mean? The Immaculate Conception isn't about Jesus' birth, it's about Mary's beginning. the moment her life started, free from the wound of sin that marks all others. It means that God's grace can work before we fall, not just after. That divine mercy isn't only forgiveness, it's also prevention. Mary's life shows what humanity was meant to be, untouched by corruption, open to grace, ready to say yes to God. When Pope Pius IX announced the Dogma in 1854, he was defining a mystery as old as Christianity itself. 4 years later, a young girl in Lourdes repeated it in her own tongue, without knowing its meaning. Que soy era Immaculate Conception. Whether you see that as a coincidence or confirmation, the message remains the same. That grace can reach beyond reason, across centuries, and into the simplest of hearts. That what begins as doctrine can sometimes return as revelation. And that in a world still stained by doubt and sin, the voice of a poor peasant girl proclaimed the same impossible words. I am the Immaculate Conception. So what do you make of it? Was it coincidence or confirmation? Was it the imagination of a poor, uneducated girl, or a message sent to strengthen a doctrine the Church had carried for centuries? And what does it say about grace? That it can move quietly through history, or speak through the least expected voice? If this story made you think, if it challenged you, or if it deepened your understanding of the Immaculate Conception, I invite you to reflect on it, to share it, and to join the conversation. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. And in the comments below, tell me what you believe happened in Lourdes. Was it faith, fiction, or something far more mysterious?